Hello, Gair.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. I'm just gonna mute everybody else right now. I'm just hoping I don't mute you as well.
Okay.
You'll have to unmute yourself, I think. I think I muted you.
Unmute.
There
There
you
we
go.
go. How's that?
That's great. You can hear me, see me okay?
I can hear you. I can not only hear you and see you, I can feel you. I can feel the blast of minus 25, 26 degrees whipping off the Northumberland Strait. Hear you. How's that?
Well, considered what you've been through, I consider us to be in a balmy weather conditions right now. I do believe you guys just had some of the most record cold temperatures out there.
Yeah, so we're alive and well. The place hasn't caved in yet with all this with all the bone chilling temperatures, but no, we're all good.
Great. All right. I'll jump into it. I'll give everybody a quick bio for you, but
Hmm.
in case they don't know, Gers is an award-winning author of two books. First one was Nuts, Bolts, and a Few Loose Screws. I do believe 2010. Is that correct?
It is, and it's very rare that I see anyone pull that book out. Usually, that one comes out of a rummage sale somewhere.
Yeah, no, I had it, and then I couldn't find it. I got it again. But I do believe you were in Moncton during the Richard Branson time. Weren't you
Yeah,
promoting that book at that time?
that's right. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And then the latest book is Big Little Legends, How Everyday Leaders Build Irresistible Brands. And that's what we're going to dive into today. Yeah, before you were world famous for branding, you were a former broadcaster right here in this greater Moncton area. I do believe you spent a lot of time. You've got over 10,000 interviews and more than 30,000 broadcasts. So quite a career there. You're a Tech Canada Speaker of the Year in 2012, and you've delivered over 1,000 presentations for Vistage International and Tech Canada, and you now travel internationally as one of the top authorities on the topic of branding. Gair does a brand consulting through a program called the Branding Highway Bootcamp. Do I have that right?
Yeah, yeah. Geez, you've
Yep.
done your homework, Paul.
Little bit. And you've also got a program called the Masterclass, which I do believe is based on Big Little Legends.
Exactly, which goes again next month in Dallas, Texas,
Wow.
where it's a little warmer than both
Little.
Moncton and Calgary.
Yeah, very wise to pick that location in February. So I really want to offer a big thanks, Gair, for joining us from your home studio in Cochrane, Alberta. You're located at the foot of the Rockies, I do believe, 30 minutes west of Calgary.
Yep.
And like I say, just in a super deep freeze, but I hear you guys working your way out of it.
No, we're going to get there. I think we might even be able to go hiking again this weekend. So,
Perfect. So I've got to tell you, I'm very humbled and very nervous today. And I do appreciate you taking the time to jump on this call with me. I'll do my best to handle the technology. Hopefully, I won't mess things up too much. Old people and computers don't always go together in the same sentence.
yeah, roll right back at you. I had a glitch just before we went on. So,
Okay,
I had to scramble the fighter jets a little bit to make sure all the bells and whistles were working.
perfect. All right, I'm just going to make sure I see someone else I've got to bring in here.
Yeah,
Just
and I'm just
oh, I muted you again. Sorry, Gear. I muted you again by mistake.
okay.
First of many faux pas that I will do today. Won't be my last senior moment for sure. So I thought we'd start with the trailer of the book, if you're okay with that.
Yep.
I'm going to try it, see if this works. We're going to share this screen, and we're going to play this.
Among 35,000 masterworks at the Louvre, why is just one relatively unremarkable 30 by 21 inch painting always surrounded by mobs of tourists eager to take selfies and share on social media. How did the sudden disappearance of this famous portrait illuminate the difference between successful brands that create an organic pull instead of a manufactured push? Why does this phenomena also occur at one certain coffee shop, one certain fish market, or second-hand store with long lines of customers reaching around the block while competitors across the street sit empty? It's called the Mona Lisa effect, an intangible, invisible force that magically stimulates attraction, fascination, and creates deep emotional connection. Without magic, it's just marketing. For over a decade, we've been researching and dissecting how small to medium-sized businesses can build their own irresistible brands, become the equivalent to Apple, Disney, Nike in their respective product service category. Irresistible represents a combination of two things: an instantly recognizable identity and an impeccable reputation. Pairing these two dynamics is what inspires people to become curious, to learn more, spend more, support a cause, join a team, and demonstrate undying loyalty in any sector, any product service category. When identity and reputation align like the moon and the stars, we call these outliers big little legends, each defined by four key criteria. They have a positive community impact with a favorable reputation that extends far beyond their local area code, turning them into a destination. They have a brand narrative that gets told and retold, multiplying their word-of-mouth popularity. They demonstrate longevity based on a bedrock of core values, and they own a substantial share of their market thanks to the incredible return on their marketing efforts.
Why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
A perfect real-life example is situated on a lonely stretch of highway in northern Ontario, Canada. Weber's has created a destination spot where people line up daily for burgers and fries. Rain or shine, there's always a steady stream of customers who are also sharing their positive experiences with glowing online reviews. What this hamburger establishment and every other big little legend demonstrates is how they routinely conquer typical industry challenges, such as the war on talent, competing in the attention economy, dysfunctional teams, discounting, or escaping the commodity trap. This all begins with knowing who you are, beyond the products, the services, the expertise you offer. It's about the stories you tell, the ideals you reflect, and the power they have to create a deeply emotional, even biochemical connection that can fuel unwavering loyalty from legions of supporters. Big Little Legends takes you behind the scenes of how legendary brands are built by ordinary people who knew their identity, knew who they were beyond their products and services. It's a proven way for any leader with courage, conviction, and growing confidence can apply art and science to design their own category of one and become a word-of-mouth juggernaut for decades. Uncover the mystery of how the story only you can tell can help solidify and cement your brand identity and reputation and occupy a permanent place in hearts and minds everywhere.
I hope that worked. Did everybody saw that? Oh, I got you muted again there, Gair. So
yeah, that's a great place to start, Paul.
yeah, there's a couple things that struck me. On page 57, you write that Karen Post wrote in her book 2004, Brain Tattoos.
Yes.
Brand is a story embedded in the mind of the market. And then on page 11, you talk about what if you could focus your marketing efforts on creating an organic pull instead of a manufactured push? What if you adopted a proactive, long-term approach to brand building instead of the reactive demands of short-term pitching and promoting? And what if you knew there was a way to firmly ensconce your brand as a category of one for decades to come? You say the dynamics of every single type of commercial activity changes dramatically when the customer comes to you. So I believe that's where you start in the book, and I'm hopeful that we can dive into some examples of that. But one thing that I learned from this book, I knew the Mona Lisa was famous, but I didn't know why. And I wonder if you take just a couple minutes to quickly tell us.
That's the starting point, and it's not by accident, Paul, that we begin the book and this conversation at the Louvre in Paris. Just by a show of hands, has anyone been to see this? Mark, you saw it? Yeah, you'll see how people swarm to that one painting and they basically ignore the rest of the paintings in the building.
Right.
Right. And I stood there on the third visit. I'm a slow learner, so I only got it on the third visit. And I stood there and I thought to myself, this is not a museum. Oh, sure. It looks like a museum and there's lots of paintings and sculptures and whatnot. But I realized in that moment, this is the open market. And I did the homework afterwards, and there's 35,000 paintings, objects, artifacts on display. Only one is getting all the attention, like an incredible amount of attention. So it begs the question, why does one product draw a crowd while other products, even if judged to be of superior quality, are often overlooked? And I can't begin to tell you, Paul, how that was just a tiny seed that got planted, but it wouldn't go away. Right. And so I am, I did the broadcasting thing for 2 decades and primarily in Moncton, and I'm very grateful. But deep down, I'm an amateur historian. I was a kid who always studied history and just loved history. And so I got curious about, well, why is the Mona Lisa so famous?
Okay.
How did that happen?
Right.
Right. And then it's August 21st, 1911, when she was stolen. When she was stolen, here's how not famous she was. It took the officials at the Louvre about 30 to 48 hours before they even knew she was missing.
Right.
So don't tell me she was always the most famous painting in the world. Don't spin the artistic snooty snoot critic lines about, oh, the textures of Da Vinci, or, oh, the eyes that follow you around the room, or the beguiling smile. That's all come later.
Right.
So she's gone. They don't know where the hell she is.
Yep.
And it takes nearly 2 days before they even find out. And then they notify the police. Okay. When they notify the police, then it hits the media. Then it's front page in Paris. But not only is it front page in Paris, it went viral. Right. So stop and think, what's the only mass media platform in 1911? Newspaper. This is long before radio. Radio's not even invented yet.
Right.
Right? Like, and so here's how front page she went about 6 months ago, and I have to dig it back up again. Alan Cochrane from the Times and Transcript sent me a photograph. She was front page of the Moncton Times.
Okay. Amazing.
That's incredible, isn't it? When you think about it.
Yeah.
Right. So she's gone from Prince George, BC to Pensacola, Florida to Pisa, Italy. She's on the front page of the paper.
Right.
What she's earning is attention, millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of attention. So who here running a business competes in the attention economy? Right. Who's competing for attention? Everybody. So it was the same back then. She's getting all the attention.
Yeah.
When they finally cracked the case and she's brought home to Paris, 120,000 people are there to greet her upon her return. In other words, she leaves as an unknown and returns as a rock star.
Yeah.
Now, team out of Los Angeles who gave me the entire background, and in every chapter of the book there's tons of research that never got into the final manuscript, right?
Right.
But it forces us to all ask what I call a leadership question, which is, wait a second, what happens if the thief grabbed another painting that morning?
Right.
What would have happened?
It would have been that one.
Exactly. We're not talking about Da Vinci's painting. We're talking about, something from Monet or Van Gogh or Rembrandt, whatever was small enough and somewhat famous enough or notorious enough that he could steal.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
That's what it comes. In other words, the other painting would have won the publicity sweepstakes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also forces another question. A story either happens to you or you got to make one happen.
Right.
That's the leadership question right there.
Yeah.
How do you make something happen? Like
Right.
you could get lucky.
Yep.
There was a guy selling soup out of New York in November of 1995, and he got real lucky.
Yep.
What happened, Paul?
Seinfeld had a segment called The Soup Nazi.
One episode.
That was it.
Done. Like his brand building job is over at that point.
Yep. He's just got to do it.
Right. And he enjoyed the benefits of that incredible amount of exposure and attention. And they sell a lot of soup, and I've been there too in Manhattan. There's different parts of the day. There's long lineups for that soup. And all you got to do is ask yourself, well, how many other guys are selling soup in Manhattan?
Yeah.
How many other paintings are there in the Louvre?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So I'm going to jump to another one here. I've got another video I'd like to share, and this one, I believe, is dear and close and dear to your heart. So let me try this one again.
By the way, just for everyone's benefit, I have no idea what Paul's doing today.
Yeah.
Like this is so, I want everyone to feel that. This is so unscripted. He's going to play another video. I don't know what video he's going to play.
That's right.
But the one thing that when Paul and I talked about doing this, I said, hey, Paul, unrehearsed, unscripted, because I think anyone taking the time to join on a Zoom call should know we're just getting together for a little conversation here around the digital campfire.
Yeah.
And see where this goes. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
So I'm as anxious as anyone to see what he's going to play.
All right. Let me try again.
The people, the energy, when you walk in, it's just a really good feeling. It's a big hug. You just come and you're welcome back. There's coffee, tea, popcorn, lattes, not just for the day you bought your car, for every day. Everybody comes in, they see me, the big hug, so it's a great experience. Like, we don't want to be that car dealer that comes on with an ad and buy. We just want to come give us a try. It's just so different. Let's have the customers having a good car at a great price and feel they was looked after. You know, we're going to please everybody? No, nobody can please everybody, but can we try to please everybody? Yes, we're going to do our best. You are invited to Wheels and Deals to just feel the difference. You don't got to buy a car, you don't got to try one out. Just come in, we'd love to take you for a tour of our facilities. Come in and feel the difference.
There you go.
That's an oldie but goodie.
It is. So a couple things strike me about that. One is authentic. I mean, that's Jim Gilbert. He's not trying to be something else. He is who he is. He's just putting that out for out there to the world. The other thing he says, not everybody needs to like me. Like, not everybody needs to like us. Not everybody wants a hug. I remember reading that somewhere, but when they did the research or did the asking people, he said like 6 or 7 people out of 10 said, sure, they don't mind a hug. So he was like, okay with 6 out of 10. That was a pretty good number for him. So I believe this is almost, I got written down tipping point for you. This might have been where your journey kind of started with this.
Yeah, truth be told, the origin story of Big Little Legends is Canada's huggable car dealer.
Right.
Everything we've learned about this discipline, this model, if you will, of brand building originates in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And is anyone curious to hear like the behind the scenes story, the stuff that's not in the book about Jim Gilbert? Who's curious about that?
I am.
Okay. Here's what it comes down to. I met Jim in 2002. I met him at the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. I'm just getting started basically in this business world, this consulting world, a couple of years out of broadcasting type thing. And I meet Jim that day, and I want you to feel what happened. There was like 60 people at this little seminar I ran in the morning at the Fredericton Chamber. It was at the old Lord Beaverbrook Hotel, which I think they remodeled or whatever.
Yep.
And at 9, I think I was on from 8 till 9. At 9:01, 58 people bolted to the door and couldn't get out of that room fast enough. That's the God's honest truth. Only 2 people hung around to talk to me. Jim Gilbert and his brand new employee, John Eliakis.
Yep.
And I think I can role play it because it's so fresh in my memory to this day. Jim comes up afterwards and he's barely making eye contact. And he talks in this, well, you just heard him in the video. He talks in this kind of very quiet, low talker voice. And he asks if maybe we can work together to build his little business. He's got 5 employees. He's got a part-timer. Cars. So what's going through your mind right away as soon as he tells you he's into used cars? Paul, what's going through your mind?
Yeah,
you can already picture it, right? You can picture it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the stereotypes of the used car industry.
Right.
And as I got to know Jim and his wife, Donna, they are the furthest thing from it. And we meet in 2002. And at the time we were doing soft skills training and things like customer service training and whatnot. And then 2006, part by accident, part by intention, we stumble onto this idea. It took us about 6 months to develop the idea. So it only took us 4 years. I want you to hear that. 4 years. And even then, we still didn't know what we had. Like It was so ambiguous and uncertain. And Paul, I deal with this all the time. I just did 2 CEO groups in Calgary this week. I did 2 last week in San Antonio, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. And guess what? Even after 3 hours, it's like very ambiguous. Yep. We started with radio commercials and we never talked about the product. Right. He's the Casanova of customer focus. He's the Romeo of roadsters. By golly, he's the McDreamy of drive. Stop by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals and get your daily dose of Hugtonium, designed to improve your love affair with your car and your libido.
Yep. Nothing about cars.
Nothing about cars.
Yep.
We ran those spots, and within 6 weeks, Jim and Donna and I are sitting down having dinner in Moncton. Who remembers it was the Holiday Inn Express there out the Trans-Canada, right by Magic Mountain, Magnetic Hill, right?
Yep.
We're sitting there. Let's see if I can lean in. And Jim's looking across the table and his eyeballs are so big, dancing, because he's like 10 years old again. And he's like, I've been advertising on the radio for 20 years. Ain't no one ever come up to me and talk to me about my ads. We don't even know what we have, but we know It's getting traction. We know people are paying attention, but I can't stress enough how we don't even know what we got.
Yeah.
Right. And then that was the night. Donna had gone off to the superstore and she had seen this big rack. You see that at the superstore sometimes at the different retailers.
Yep.
There was like 150 teddy bears, big red teddy bears. I got one lying around here.
Yep.
And she bought everything. She bought the whole 150 and stuffed them in the car. So when they're going back to Fredericton, it's Jim and Don in the front and a back seat full of 150 or so teddy bears. And then they took them, put their logo on them, the embroidered logo. And that's, I think, where the magic really started. Was Donna recognized we couldn't just talk about being huggable in the advertising or the marketing. We actually have to embody the whole huggable thing in any way, shape, and form we can. Right. And so dozens of teddy bears led to hundreds of teddy bears. There's the mascots, there's the merry-go-round, there's the 2-kilometer nature trail to go walk your dog, the trail of hugs.
Yep.
You know, in that business, when I met Jim and Donna, they were about 1.2, 1.3 million in revenue. That became a $50 million business.
Right.
They went from selling, 12, 15, 18 cars a month to over 100. And then that whole huggable brand was parlayed or whatever into the Kawasaki dealership, into power sports. And within 2 years of getting into power sports, how does the guy from Fredericton become the #1 Kawasaki dealer in all of Canada?
Yeah.
When he shows up 2 years in,
yeah,
out of 160 dealerships.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And that, and
yeah.
Say what, there's a, and trying to get people to not think that this is too crazy. Like this will never work. This is, what that must be your challenge sometimes too, with people are just like, we just,
here's what I've done, Paul. And for the benefit of everyone, I've synthesized it into a question. Who are you beyond the products and services? In other words, do you have an identity that extends beyond products and services? How many car dealerships are there in New Brunswick?
Oh, there's got to be hundreds and hundreds.
Drive down the street. What really separates the Nissan dealership from the Toyota, from the this and the that? Any real differentiation?
No.
Do they all have nice glass buildings?
Yeah, that's what Jim was. I think one of his sayings was, it's not about 4 wheels and a piece of tin.
Right. That's the expression. It's nothing to do with your product or service. Nothing.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the paint on the canvas or whether Da Vinci did it or not. Nothing.
Yeah.
That's a very humbling place to be, because a lot of business owners and leaders put an awful lot of stock into their actual product or service.
Yeah, you say at the end of that chapter, your products and services are not your brand, neither is your logo. You have to have the moral authority to tell your story, and strategic drama demands raw courage.
Right. And that's what Jim Gilbert shines at.
Right.
Very few are as gutsy as Jim.
Right.
That I've met. How much gut, think about it. How much guts did it take for him to be called to say, okay, I'm going to be the huggable car dealer? Did that take guts?
Yeah, well, especially based on his personality that I see in that video. He's just, he's not pick 5 of 10 guys, and he's not probably going to be the guy you'd pick to climb Mount Everest. He's just a very humble,
friendly guy. But still, think about the putting yourself out there element.
Yeah.
Right.
But
he did it.
Having that courage to put himself out there and be brave to.
And by the way, this part, I didn't write about this too much, but this is one of those real life anecdotes. Jim used to go back in the day. Jim used to go to the auctions, the different live auctions for cars. That's where they get a lot of their inventory, right?
Yeah.
And so whether it was in New Brunswick or sometimes he'd fly to Montreal. And in other words, he's seeing the same industry cronies. Does everyone see their industry cronies at different meetings, events, and conferences?
Yeah.
I think we all do, right?
Associations. Yep.
Right? Associations, what have you. So Jim's going to the auction, and there he is, and he becomes huggable in September of 06. Now, how do you think his cronies in the industry responded?
I would think they were making a lot of fun of him.
Some of them were laughing in his face openly. Yep. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Right. Yep.
Right. But so, yeah, they were talking about him behind his back, making fun of him. Right.
Yep.
Right. That's all real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet what none of them failed to realize, none of them recognized, whatever they all failed to realize was that, hey, wait a second, we're not building the brand for industry cronies. Who are we building this for?
For
the audience,
the customers,
yeah. The future talent.
Yeah.
That's who it's for. It's not for you.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I again, I'm so fresh from the recent speaking engagements of sharing this. You don't want your competitors to ever figure this out. And even if they got a sniff of it, don't worry, they will never copy you. If
right.
You're a true original, they won't copy you. They're going to stay so focused on their products and their services. That's where the focus will be.
Yeah.
Strategic drama is what Jim does very well. Jim knows it's all of anything you can do to make the story bigger and bigger and bigger. That's how it not only acquires reputational equity, but
yep.
sustainable growth.
All right. Maybe we'll see if anybody's got a question at this point on that.
Yeah, topic. Let's open up the, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'd love to freewheel and Q&A this as much as possible.
Yeah. See if anybody know how to raise their hand or got a question or.
Let's get everyone's microphones open, Paul. We're a small enough group, right?
Yeah. Maybe if you just want to unmute your mics on your side, probably be better than me trying to unmute everybody. Anybody have a question how they could apply this to their business? Whether it's a commodity. We got quite a range here on this call. We've got Garth, who's got a trailer store. We've got Ron's on here, I think, that's got a garage station. We've got a financial planner. Got all kinds of things. Anybody got a question?
Who's got the first question? Put it that way.
Oh, all right.
I actually have a question. Where did the huggable part come from? You were in radio at the time, were you not?
Oh no, I had left radio, and Jim Gilbert and I had discovered this place, this place outside of Austin, Texas called Wizard Academy. And I didn't know the answer to our issue. So first of all, what's the issue? The issue is differentiation. Yep. How important is differentiate? By the way, Paul, I don't know what's going on, but I can only see like 3 or 4 people here on my screen. Just
let me see if I can do a gallery.
Yeah, I'm trying to see the gallery. I'm trying to.
Can you see that? No.
Still see.
There's only 3 or 4 people have their videos on. I for some reason I can't get mine on.
Most are just on
audio.
So
let's go back. Okay, we'll just do this like old-fashioned radio. So sorry, who's asking the question?
I think that was Garth from the trailer store.
Okay, and Garth, what do you do?
It's trailers, so it's equipment dump, enclosed RVs. So
okay. So I had found this place called Wizard Academy, and I didn't know the answer to the question, but I knew where Jim and I were going to find it. And he and I saddled up. We went down in July of 2006. I introduced him to a Wizard of Ads partner named Ray Segrin. I wrote about this in chapter 2. And Huggable as a concept was born in Texas. And we brought it back to New Brunswick. And Jim and I had blind faith, yes, that this was going to work. But we also had science. I want you to hear that, Garth. We had science. One of the things we picked up and we've used forever, ever since is this. There's only 3 components to the communication equation. All right, Garth, so let's you and I role play this a little bit. You ready?
I'm ready.
All righty. There's the hammer, the nail, and the block of wood. Got it?
Yep.
The hammer is repetition and frequency. How many times you say something. Have you ever run radio ads?
Yes.
Okay, so if you bought, which station?
The country, XL
Okay.
96 usually.
Right. So if you bought, let's say, 100 radio spots, you swung the hammer 100 times.
Right.
Make sense?
Yep.
The block of wood is the human brain. So the country station can tell you at any given time during the day, they can tell you with some degree of accuracy, like how many people are listening. So let's say you're swinging the hammer 100 times and you've got 10,000 blocks of wood. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, what is the nail?
The nail is the message.
Bingo. So you got 3 components to the communication equation. And without getting into a whole 3-day long explanation of this, I'm giving you the short science part of it. And this has been proven, and we've proven it ourselves many times over. Out of the 3, and make no mistake, they're all important, but out of the 3, Garth, only one truly moves the needle, makes the cash register ring, gets attention. Only one. So if you have to push, metaphorically, Garth, and everyone listening and watching, if you had to push all of your poker chips into the middle of the table, what are you going to bet on? How often you say something, who you say it to, or what you say.
Well, I'm under pressure, so I'm going to say what you say.
You are correct, and you are now the smartest person on this Zoom call. Garth, here's why. The sharper the nail means you don't have to swing the hammer nearly as hard or nearly as often to drive it deeper into the human brain. In terms of, the brain has 3 levels of memory. You want to get into the deepest part of the brain as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yep.
So when that painting got stolen and it splashed all over the papers around the world, it was a sharp nail. Make sense?
Yep.
So we went to Texas. Jim Gilbert and I went to Texas knowing we were looking for the sharp nail. And then lo and behold, now how sharp do you think that huggable car dealer nail was?
It would be outstanding.
Right.
Jim must have come home with his eyes in shock, or his eyes wide open and in shock.
Like we were both, like we were betting on scientific theory and
Yep.
okay. And I'm sparing you the 3 days of learning we had to go through to understand all this. But what it proved again, and it's true on the internet to this day, because think about it, 2006, YouTube and Facebook really aren't around back then, are they?
No.
Like radio was still a very valid platform in Fredericton, New Brunswick. So our shock, lo and behold, it's one thing to theorize about something. It's another thing to put it into practice and see the results. Agreed?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the sharp nail thing, it still exists, only now it's on video, on YouTube, on TikTok, on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and every platform known to man that has a video component.
Yep.
That's where it's shifted. hard, in my view. Now, there will be other people with marketing backgrounds that will dispute this more often than not because they're looking to defend the territory that they own. Does that make sense, Garth?
Yeah, it does. No, I agree. Going through your book, you are kind of upsetting the norms because so many people have their preconceived, like going through school and the business school of whatever,
Right.
and it's all history. It's you're looking in the rearview mirror. You got to look out the windshield.
Right. And so I had an expression a few years ago, and it's still kind of valid. If you're not on YouTube, if it's not on YouTube, it never happened, basically.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yep.
I've studied close to 9,000 websites. I'm not kidding. Like, the numbers add up with all these groups that I go to. I make it a point to go study their website, and specifically I'm looking at the YouTube channel because that's the canary in the coal mine. That's the thing I can see right away strategically whether they're relevant or not. And so YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Who owns YouTube? Google.
Yeah.
Google. Like, okay. So if you're not posting consistent original content on YouTube, what you're telling the market is we're really not that committed to being relevant in the 21st century. That's what you're telling the market. That's what you're telling job applicants, customers, strategic partners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just so happens we have a New Brunswick story happening up the road in Bathurst that is absolutely killing it because of his publishing strategy with YouTube. Anyone, and here's the beauty of it, Paul, being in New Brunswick, is that anyone on this call, if they're ever up in Bathurst, could ring this guy up and go out for a coffee or a lunch with him. He'd be more than happy to tell you all about his experience. Canada makes thermally modified wood.
Okay.
Paul, can you pull a video up, by the way? Could you?
I don't know if I can. I
Okay, never mind. I'll just tell the story if it's okay.
Yeah.
But Bob Lennon write this down, Thermalwood Canada, and what you want to pay attention to is the homepage video, Garth. Okay. So you'll see when you go to his website, right away, you'll see a big box with an arrow. There's the video. Why I love Bob Lennon's story, number of reasons. He's in manufacturing. He's pure B2B. And from Bathurst, his reach is starting to slowly creep all over the world. Okay. When he started this strategy, his biggest sales month ever was a $20,000 month. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, I can pull it if you want me to.
April. No, it's okay. April of 2013, or sorry, April of 2023, last April, they had a $900,000 month at Thermalwood Canada.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I could go on and on and on, but YouTube, because if you can do YouTube, can you take that content and repost it and republish it on all kinds of different platforms?
Yeah, you can now. Yeah.
Yeah. Where he's winning is organic search.
Okay.
That's where he's winning. He's winning on organic search. And because if you publish original YouTube content, Google smiles favorably on that.
Because that's their other platform.
Right. So Garth, what are none of his competitors doing?
Posting YouTube.
Yeah, they'd be making a half-hearted attempt at it, I would think.
Exactly. But again, my numbers, not an internet number that I downloaded, or my numbers and research would tell you about 90+% of B2B companies do not even have a YouTube channel.
Yep.
That's for real. Okay. And so, but when you go back to the theme of the sharp nail, when you go to his homepage, and Paul, people can do this later on their own.
Yep.
When you go to the homepage of Thermalwood Canada's website, you will see, instead of a 30-second or 60-second radio spot, you will see what we call the movie trailer.
Right.
So it's very cinematic, like, well, Big Little Legends, the movie trailer that Paul showed us to start. It's kind of like Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's the style that now has become the new benchmark, if you will, the new digital business card, if you want to do business, especially all over the world.
Yeah, another point to that, Gair, too, is sometimes I think as we're getting started, get a little concerned, like we see Big Little Legends, big shout out to whoever does your video. They're awesome. And then sometimes we get like, I just can't do that. And I don't know if it was in your book or somewhere, but somebody said 80% of done is better than 100% of not done.
Right. And just so you know, I'll put in a plug if everyone's curious. Defiant Astronaut Media, based out of Toronto. That's who did my video. That's who did the Bob Lennon video.
Yep.
He's a New Brunswick kid. Josh Parley out of Moncton, New Brunswick.
Wow.
He lives next door to the Sky Dome and the what is it? The Scotiabank Arena where the Leafs play and the Raptors.
Yeah.
He lives right next door. Okay.
Yeah. But I think that thing about sometimes it's just you got to do it, and the first one won't be pretty, but it's there. So I don't know. I just want to make that point that 80% of done is better than 100% of perfect.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, Paul. Your commentary just illustrated what I've seen over and over and over again. Okay, so I'm just laying it out there. It never changes. This Big Little Legends model is much less about marketing. It's much more about leadership. This is really a leadership program, wearing marketing clothing. That's all it is. Okay. All right. And the 4 qualities most essential for success would be curiosity, courage, vision, initiative. Curiosity speaks to mindset. Is your mindset a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Carol Dweck is the authority on mindset. Okay. She wrote a fantastic book. Took her 20 years to develop the research around growth mindset or fixed, which really are you curious or not? If you're not curious, well, in every group I speak to, would you believe, folks, every group, someone is sitting there skeptical, cynical, and jaded. Garth, with their arms folded like this, usually with a scowl. You see any curiosity in that face? None. I know it right away. No, none. I know it right away. Like, okay, great. Courage. Will you have to go way outside of your comfort zone? Well, guess what? Without discomfort, there is no development. So if you ever have a chance to talk to Bob Lennon about his experiences, the first time he's going on video, et cetera, Garth, how do you think he felt?
Nervous and apprehensive.
Pretty uncomfortable. Yep. Get over it.
Yep.
Because this is a leadership thing. Right?
Yep.
And so, and just so you know, Bob is an engineer. He's not this extemporaneous extrovert and none of that stuff.
Yep.
He's a nuts and bolts engineer. And he figured out how to do this because it's about strategy, developing the clarity around message. Okay. Is this helpful, Garth? Just to kind of see it, how even though we went from Huggable way back in 2006 to what's happening now with Bob Lennon in 2024, and his thing is getting bigger every month, and he's in a niche product category. Niche. Thermally modified wood. You can't find that at Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that. It's you actually got to know, how to hunt for it, right?
Yeah.
So, and one quick story, and then we'll take another question, is about 3 months ago, Bob calls me up and tells me, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? Rogers reached out. So Bob does a weekly show called the Northern Heat Report. So he does a weekly show and goes on YouTube and it goes on other platforms. But and every segment is about 7, 8, 9 minutes long, always under 10. That's because if it's under 10, it'll go up on LinkedIn as native content. Okay. Rogers calls up to say, hey, can we take some of your episodes and run it as part of our community programming?
Really?
Swear to God.
Yes.
Bob's walking down the street. So they take 3 episodes of the Northern Heat Report, stitch it all together. There's a half-hour show with a break or two inside it, but there's a half hour of local programming that Rogers didn't have to pay anyone to produce. But what's happening for Bob Lennon? That's a free ad, isn't it?
Yep. Expanding his story.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Unless anybody has another question, maybe I'd jump into another topic. I'm going to talk about, you have a section in there called Bang a Tribal Drum, and I've got another video I'd like to share.
Okay.
And this one, let's see here. This one, we'll share there.
I run 17 miles every morning. People ask me how I keep my teeth from chattering in the wintertime. I leave them in my locker.
So I do believe that was the first Nike ad with the "Just Do It," and you put some examples in there of this tribal narrative. You've got Nike, "Just Do It." You got Dollar Shave Club, "Shave Time, Shave Money." City of Las Vegas, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." Parkville Manor, home of the underage senior. I do believe you did a presentation on that in Fredericton, New Brunswick, didn't you?
Could be, yeah.
Chance, speaking of YouTube, go see that. There's a great thing in there about, I do believe they got a letter of cease and desist on their message about seniors. But great story there. Pool Troopers, Americans' Backyard Heroes. Red Bull Gives You Wings. Toronto Raptors, We Are the North. United States Marine Corps, The Few, the Proud, the Marines. So I think this is an important topic because I think we all should be able to have that tribal, that narrative, of that quick narrative about what is it that we are about, what do we stand for, what are we known for. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Let's get everyone's microphones open, Paul. We'll do a live exercise, live ammunition exercise. How's that?
Sure. Everybody on mute.
Microphones, unmute. I'm going to count us in. I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1. And I want everyone to go with the phrase, the 3-word phrase you know from Nike. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Just do it.
Let's do it all at the same time. Let's do it one more time. Ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Just do it.
Good. Let's do the same thing. Same exercise, only like a football quarterback. I'm going to change the play at the line of scrimmage. I'm going to give you a new word. And that new word, you shout out the first thing that comes to mind. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, Reebok.
Sneakers.
Shoes.
What happened?
They don't have a catchphrase.
Different answers.
The answer is nobody knows. Nobody knows. That's the point. How many millions of dollars a year has Reebok spent on marketing? How much money do they spend on marketing? Think about it. You know how much you spend. How much does Reebok spend? Is there a few more zeros there?
For sure.
For sure, right? So imagine spending, no matter what the number of zeros is, but let's use Reebok. You're spending all this money, time, and effort to be known for nothing.
Right.
There's no reputational equity built up. You only have 2 to 6 words to own the market. You've only got 2 to 6. Whatever those 2 to 6 are, that's what you're building your brand around. Paul, you couldn't have picked a better video to show than the first Nike thing. What does Nike do with every story they ever tell? Every story they ever tell, what's at the very end of it?
The logo.
Just do it.
Yeah.
So in other words, they can tell 1,001 stories, but they all have the same ending. Is that right?
Right.
Right. That's what we jumped all over with Jim Gilbert. Every story we would tell, how would it end? Canada's huggable car dealer. How many stories could we tell around that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
It's basically it's not only about sharp nail, it's what's going to build equity over time. Now in in investing, we all know about compound interest. That we all know about, right? Dollars and how they compound, et cetera, et cetera. This is the marketing equivalent to compound interest. You build an identity, you capture that identity in 2 to 6 words, and then the more you do it, the longer you do it, the more you put it out there, and the more creative you are, the more sharp nails you put out there attached to that. Guess what happens? You acquire equity. I can't begin to tell you, folks, like it just happened again here in Calgary, last week in San Antonio and Atlanta. It's going to happen next week in Pennsylvania, in March in New York. See where I'm going? April in Saskatoon and Regina, right? It'll keep happening, but it goes back. I can't find an audience anywhere, including Taiwan, that knows the answer to Reebok. What's compelling, I was in Taiwan delivering Big Little Legends end of March last year. I'm going back again in October. But in Taiwan, English isn't even their first language. And guess what? They all knew the Nike phrase.
They knew it.
They knew, of course they knew it.
Yeah.
Okay. My point is that, do you think it's an accident with this little experiment we did that the Nike brand valuation every year I check is more than double their top 4 competitors combined? Does Reebok make good shoes, good hoodies, good sweatpants? There's no debate. They all make good shoes and hoodies and sweatpants and athletic apparel. No one's debating that. So, but it's not about the 4 wheels and the piece of tin. When you showed that, and that's an old spot you showed. That's the very first.
That's the first one.
Right? First one. Were they talking about the shoes?
No, there was only
no.
Not at all, and there was one small segment where they showed the shoes in
but it's all about Walt and his teeth and his locker and
yeah, just do it.
Right? Because the story was about initiative.
Right.
Right? That's about getting off your ass and going out and running on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, I think you've said somewhere, you said it in the book too. It's like don't build your brand on quality, or am I quoting?
Paul, everyone's got good quality. Name one person on this call who's substandard or below average or mediocre with their quality.
Yeah, or why would you tell people you don't have good quality? So
right.
Everybody got it. Yeah.
But that, so very, very quick story. Every single category has its own language, and it's primarily focused on the products and services. The secret is to develop a language all of your own. That's the secret. Now, I can show you what to do here. I can't show you how. This is a pretty deep topic, right? But that's why we wrote the book. That's why we get the invitations to work with organizations in terms of consulting and how to do this. But that being said, let's talk about municipalities, and this is how universal this is. The study of legends transcends product service category. In other words, it doesn't matter whether it's B2B, B2C, nonprofit, business to government.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether it's a person, a place, an object, an event. Right. This is all universally applicable.
Right.
Okay. So let's take municipalities. Now, why would a municipality rebrand itself? It's only two reasons deep down.
There's
tourism.
Right.
You want to increase tourism.
Yeah.
Economic development.
Yeah.
You want to bring more business to town.
Yeah.
Civic pride, great, but right? That's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. In chapter 12, we touched on it, not just touched on it. We wrote about it in chapter 12, but this story has gotten much bigger since it broke. So when you think of municipal marketing and you think of your own category, start to recognize it's basically all the same stuff they talk about. What if every municipality claim? Every town is welcoming, friendly, a great place to live, work, and play, raise a family. Isn't that it?
Yep. Yep.
But if you're competing for tourism and economic development dollars, how do you separate yourself from everybody else? Does that make sense, Paul? Like, how do you do that?
Right. How?
Okay. City of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And I'll tell you the stuff that's not in the book.
Yeah, I've got that video too. If you
what's that?
I got the video if you want to have
the video then. Show the video so everyone can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've got a CD.
Okay, perfect. I had no idea. See, I told you this was totally unscripted. Unrehearsed.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
I got it here somewhere. There we go. Oh no, this is it.
Well, to an international dispute now that is brewing between Canada and Norway, and it's all about a moose. That is because Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan once held bragging rights to the largest moose statue in the world, but then Norway stole their glory. But as Bonnie Allen reports, Moose Jaw has decided to fight back.
I don't know if that's
it was 1984 when Moose Jaw dared to dream that it could have the largest moose statue in the world. Mac the moose was born. Tourists came from all over to see him, or at least sometimes they stopped while driving by. But then, 4 years ago, Norway unveiled this magnificent moose, 30 centimeters taller than Mac.
Dear people of Moose Jaw, an egregious offense has been committed against you by the people of Norway.
Beloved duo Justin Rivas and Greg Moore, unofficial ambassadors for Saskatchewan, threw down the gauntlet.
We are calling on the mayor of Moose Jaw, Fraser told me, to find a way, whether it's a giant hat, long eyelashes, a huge rack, to put 31 centimeters back on Mac and stick it to Oslo.
In his own video, Moose Jaw's mayor agreed.
So he's practically family to me. What are we gonna do, folks?
He needs bigger antlers. Yes. They're not proportionate to his body.
I'd say a hockey stick resting on the horns.
I kind of like the idea of putting skates on the moose.
A hat on top, I guess.
The mayor says Mac has a nice rack, but it could be bigger.
This is a point of honor for Canadians, all Canadians.
Norwegian media are also taking this seriously.
This is turning out to be sort of international moose beef.
And the artist behind their moose is feeling confident.
Do you think the Canadians have a chance here to take back the world record?
No.
The city of Moose Jaw has promised that Mac the moose will hold a press conference Monday to discuss his future. His body, his choice.
I don't know if it was that one, but I know they've done the most notorious.
Oh, I've never seen that video, but guess what? There's dozens and dozens and dozens of videos and news reports that went out there about that story.
Yeah, there's Stephen Colbert had a bit about it.
Stephen Colbert. We got 4 minutes on the Colbert Report.
Yep.
So you couldn't have showed a better one, Paul, because you surprised me. I've never seen that one.
Okay.
Right? but the fundamentals, I'll pull back the curtain and let you guys all in on the process. How is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
And then just so you know, I've got a hard stop at 11,
Yep.
but hopefully we'll cover as much ground as we can.
Sure.
Okay. So the mayor of Moose Jaw, I met him in June of 2018. As soon as he saw my presentation around the creation of legends, I'll never forget. Fraser comes up to me and he says, "I don't know how you do it. Here's my card. We got to talk." All right. It was that fast.
Yep.
So in September, I'm doing a full day program with about 25 people, like all community leaders, business community, Chamber of Commerce, economic development, tourism, all the bigwigs in Moose Jaw. All right. And that's when we formulated strategy, our angle of approach, the point of view. Write this down, guys. What's going to be our point of view beyond products and services? Okay. Same for a municipality as it is for all of you. And so we have this strategy cooked up. And I can remember the exact moment I'm on the 401 and I'm talking to my friends, Justin and Greg, who you saw in that video. And I say, and by the way, Justin and Greg and I had never met in person. We were just fans of each other's video content. Okay. All right. So, and we've had a number of phone calls, and I remember calling them on January 11th, and I was calling just to wish them a happy new year. That was it. And anyone who knows me knows I will call out of the blue just to say, "Hey, what's going on?" Right? Yeah. Right. Okay. So we're talking, and I said, "Guys," I said, "we've developed this strategy for Moose Jaw. I said, I don't know exactly how yet, but there's something about you guys, what you do, and the mayor of Moose Jaw and what we're developing here. I just see it. I see it all coming together. I just don't know how." Right?
Yep.
And I remember I was in the passenger seat riding shotgun. We're heading from London, Ontario to Toronto, where we were located back then. And we hang up. I think nothing else. I got a text about 7 hours later that said, "Look what you inspired." And there was a link. And I'm thinking, I didn't inspire anything. I didn't do it. Like, and I mean this, folks, like, I didn't do anything. They hung up the phone. They started poking around. They found this story about how Norway had built a bigger moose 4 years earlier. Guys,
4 years ago.
4 years earlier. No one did anything with it. Justin and Greg drove from Regina. They maybe spent $50 to produce that video, of which $30 would have been expenses going through the Wendy's drive-through. Okay, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But when I got home that night and I looked at that video, that's one of the sharpest nails I ever saw. And at the time, it had 75,000 views on a Friday night. When I woke up Saturday morning, it had 150,000 views, right? This whole outrageous, what was it? An egregious offense. It was egregious.
Yep.
Right? I was on the phone at least half a dozen times with the mayor that weekend, and his communications director for the city of Moose Jaw. And we are plotting and scheming, because the way I'm seeing this play out, we have a little prairie brush fire that's going on right now. What do we got to do? We got to throw as much gasoline on that fire as we possibly can. And the window is very, very short.
Right.
I think what's relevant, Paul, for everyone right now is understanding the mayor at the time would not have been what you would call a YouTuber. Does that make sense, guys? He's just, but he's willing to go. What were those 4 qualities again? Curiosity, courage, vision, initiative. So over Saturday and Sunday, through a few conference calls with his communications guy, Craig Hemingway, and the mayor, We know there's got to be a response. We know the mayor's going to draw a line in the snow. He's going to stand in front of Mac the Moose. It just so happened it was very blizzardy that day. It's even better visuals, right? And he's going to declare war on Norway, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that. Because if he doesn't do that response, there's an incredibly high chance the story dies.
Right.
That story, when he does his finger pointing and we're not going to take it, and this is an insult to all Moose Javians and all Canadians. When the mayor does that, we got, just like the Mona Lisa, guys, we got millions and millions and millions of dollars of free publicity.
Yeah.
There's no way we can buy all this.
Yeah.
No way. It's not for sale. The sharp nail is still the key to the whole thing. And it's going to drive you crazy because it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. Right. But you got, like, in my view, you got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, like the Nike thing, right? So at the end of the day, there's a happy ending. The mayor from the little town in Norway, she came over to Canada in the spring. There was an international moose summit.
Right.
Okay. They signed a Mooserandum of Understanding. It was reported in full by the Washington Post.
Yep.
Okay. And in the fall that year, Mac the Moose underwent a successful antlerectomy, regained his title as the world's tallest moose statue.
Okay.
Tourism in the first year went up 30%.
Yeah.
I want you to hear those numbers.
30%. Yeah.
30% in the first year. Now, 4 years later, and Paul, that's why I'm glad you pulled out that video, because I had never seen it. 4 years later, oh, by the way, does all that content still live online?
Yep, that's where I found it.
Anyone can go look it up.
Yep.
Okay. My point is that the city manager called me early in 2023. Since becoming, and here's the strategy, Canada's most notorious city. That's Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Canada's most notorious city. Since becoming notorious in 2019, in excess of $1.25 billion in economic growth.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
For a town of 33,000, it represents nearly 1,000 new jobs. Because since they became notorious, suddenly they separated themselves from all the other towns, pitching the same old stuff. Suddenly, at high-level meetings, they were the cool kids in the room.
Right.
Is there an advantage?
Yeah.
At high-level negotiation to be the cool kids in the room?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the city manager to this day, he's a good friend of mine, Jim Pufalt, says, ultimately, you've got to give luck and timing a chance. And did we get lucky? Yes. Did the stars align for us? Yes. But I always credit Fraser, Jim, Craig, all those key guys involved. They knew they had to figure out the answer to the question, well, who are we in terms of our identity?
Right.
And that's what we came up with, because every town is friendly.
Yeah.
We can't be the same as everybody else.
It just struck me. Riverview is about 33,000, 35,000 people. Like, those two communities are
right.
kind of whatever. And it's just the difference in what those two things are. So
yeah.
Anybody, maybe open for questions. Anybody got a question for Gair on that topic? If not, I'd like to jump into the takeaways from that about Moose Jaw, and was that Savannah's Bananas, another baseball team, page 227. You need to read that story. But you've got Be Your Own Media Company.
Yeah.
Think and act like a reporter. And this one struck me. Marketing is no longer something you buy. Today, marketing is something you need to be.
Yeah, whatever that thing is, you got to be that thing.
Yeah. So it's not.
You got to be all in on Notorious, or you got to be all in on Huggable, or all in on whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
But the good news is that none of your competitors are even asking the question. Nobody.
Right.
Because they will all market the exact same way. They will make it about their products and their services and their 10% discounts on Tuesdays and 2-for-1 Wednesdays. You see what I mean, guys? They're all going to do the same old crap that's been going on for 80 years.
Yeah. If we don't have a question, we've got not much time left, but I'd like you to kind of give us some commentary on this video if we can. It's a pretty short one, but it's a pretty amazing one to me.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop-up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
The thing that struck me there, a minute and 37, I think a minute and 40 seconds, he paid $4,500 to produce that video. He built a company that got sold for $1 billion in the span of 6 or 8 years, I do believe. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in on this one. West Shore Home. Write this down, everyone. West Shore Home. So Dollar Shave Club. Who wave if you saw the Dollar Shave Club thing at one time? Most people did, right? Because he got millions and millions and millions of views. But the internet wasn't as crowded back then. YouTube wasn't as crowded back then. And some of you are put off and, dare I say, somewhat shut down because, there's no point anymore because, that it's too crowded.
Yeah.
I'll never get noticed, which is the wrong. I can't begin to tell you how wrong that approach is.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you one thing. If you don't post, if you don't publish, you're right. You will never get noticed ever. But you don't need millions and millions. You don't need 50 million, 100 million views like Dollar Shave Club got. I only get in the thousands, and I'm more than happy.
Good.
It's not about the many, it's about the one.
Good.
All right? The one who can help you move your enterprise forward. So West Shore Home, 6 years ago to this month, I meet the guy in he's out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Has anyone heard that one? Anyone ever heard of Mechanicsburg? Garth, you have? So you know it's no place. Yeah. The guy does bathrooms, doors, and windows. Bathrooms, doors, and windows. Now, ask yourself, how many people do bathrooms, doors, and windows in America?
A lot.
A lot. And it's a pretty blue-collar kind of industry, right? At the time, he's got 130 employees. He's doing about 35 to 40 million in annual revenue. So that's 6 years ago. And right away, like the mayor of Moose Jaw, he says, yep. He says, I don't know where this goes, but we got to explore this. I got the invitation to work with the leadership team. I'm in Hershey in April of 2018. And we do these extraction exercises when we do these executive boot camps, and we pull out all of these things designed, I don't want to know about the product. Not that I don't care, but we've already crossed that bridge.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Garth? Like,
yeah,
products are good. Great. Let's move on. I want to find out what's the spirit, what's the soul, what are the shared beliefs and values of this group, right? Kind of like if the group was a character in a movie, well, who would they be? Okay. And so, long story short, West Shore Home, in terms of their identity, is very military centric. They approach home renos like the Navy SEALs or the Marine Corps. There's a lot of that influence. So this is as far from huggable as you can imagine.
Right.
This is hardcore, take no prisoners. They have a whole leadership language around decentralized command, default aggressive, extreme ownership, the laws of combat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's what I discovered when I went there. Essentially, that's who they were. Okay. You just go to their YouTube channel and you'll see videos like, I'll tell you the videos you want to watch. One is called Deliver Greatness. Another one is called Destination Employer, but you will see a very busy YouTube channel. Okay. Because they're a media company that happens to do bathrooms, doors, and windows. Bob Lennon is a media company happen in your backyard doing manufacturing.
Yeah.
It's still the same strategy. And so with West Shore Home, it just so happens that in 2023, that company surpassed the $1 billion mark in revenues. They've got 3,000 employees. They're in 37 locations in 17 states. In 2023, the average was $5.5 million a day in revenue. But the biggest stat for my thinking is 13,000 applications a month. That's the number. While everyone else is screaming they can't find people, West Shore Home is bringing in 13,000 applications a month to do bathrooms, doors, and windows.
Yeah.
Now, are they perfect by any means? No. But I've never seen the guy ever go from 35-40 million in revenue to $1 billion in 5 years. Yeah. I've never seen it. No. And so as we wrap this up, Paul, I think that's, to me, what West Shore Home has done has elevated the, you know what I mean? And the thinking in terms of, well, what's possible?
Right.
And do you think for a second I would have imagined that when we were in that hotel conference center in Hershey, Pennsylvania? No. I don't see where they had just opened their second location in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Like they were good.
Yep.
They've really blown it up. And part of it is they've executed on the fundamentals. I think, you know, my friend Alan Power is here sitting in to observe, and thank you for letting Al watch. But it's like Al and I talk about this a lot. You get the fundamentals down. Al scouted over 200,000 hockey players, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
Paul, you and I were at the Riverview Byron Dobson Arena, right?
Yeah.
Working with kids on fundamentals. Well, I see brand building as the same discipline. Got to get the fundamentals down, down, work the fundamentals. It sounds really boring, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. But guess what? You study Nike, they've been doing the fundamentals since 1988. Right.
Yep.
Develop an identity. Yep. Work that identity. Build it.
Yeah. Just as Nike says, just do it.
Just do it.
Do it. Well, Gair, I know you got to go. I certainly appreciate, just quickly, are you so busy that you don't have any writing time, or you got another book in you?
I do have another book in me. Okay. I've set aside, I've got a very busy speaking and consulting schedule between now and the summer, but July and August, I'm not accepting any engagements because I've got to set aside time to write the follow-up to Big Little Legends. There will be a follow-up. The only hint I can give you is that if Big Little Legends was about brand, the follow-up is going to focus on legacy. I've been collecting stories around legacy and insights around legacy, and I need the time to do the research, not just on the fly, but actually sit down and pull it all together.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Loved that last book, and if everybody hasn't got it or read it, you need to get it and read it. It's so much good information. There's so much more we could have talked about today. I certainly appreciate you blocking this time out of your schedule. Really, really appreciate it. What I'll do is after you sign off, I'll just keep the rest of everybody on the call. I'd like to get some feedback from everybody on how we did and how things went and things we could do to improve. So again,
Paul, thanks so much for the invite. Happy to do it, and I hope to see you when I'm back in the Maritimes in the summer.
Yeah, I sent out a link last night to the story about your dad, just to there's a video on YouTube there. So I just wanted to give them a chance to see that, how your strong connection is to this province. So thanks again.
Okay, guys, take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gair. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Get some feedback here. Just still waiting for Gair, so I don't have him connected yet. So fingers crossed I didn't mess up the times with him. Can everybody hear me and see me okay? Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you, Paul.
Great.
I see you. You can't see me though. This is Joe.
What was that, Jim?
I don't think you can see me. I might, for whatever reason, for Zoom and for Teams, it won't connect to my camera. But anyway, I'm here.
Right. No, I just see the voice. Nope.